With Storyline's expanded support on xAPI, we can track a lot more inside of Storyline. If you don't know the basics of this, go ahead and check out the video up here and you can see how to get started with xAPI inside of Storyline. Inside of here, let me go to this xAPI statement. You'll notice that we captured the verb and we captured the object. Now, if your course is inside of a learning management system, Storyline will automatically capture who the person is from the learning management system. But if it's not, how do you capture it? Now, you can do this through a single sign-on, but you still have to pass through who the person is through what's called a query string. And that's a little bit more complex because it requires a little bit of code, but I've created a template to actually make it easier if you're just wanting to capture who the person is with their name and their email. And we'll talk about that template today. All right, welcome back. If you haven't checked out my website already, go ahead and check out my website at learningdojo.ninja. Here you can check out all previous blog posts that I have done. You can also check out templates, and this is where you can download the template we're going to be talking about today. And also courses, full courses on Articulate Storyline 360, Adobe Captivate, xAPI Fundamentals, Articulate Rise, Custom SCORM, and HTML5 video. But today we're going to be talking about and expanding upon the xAPI verbs inside of Storyline. And again, if you haven't checked out any of my videos yet, go ahead and check out the basics of xAPI statements inside of Storyline. I'm going to go ahead and go in here to Storyline and I'm going to show you what we have so far. I've created a sample course with just a couple different pages and they're sending over these statements at different points of the course. So let's go ahead and explore what we're sending over here. So on the first page, as soon as the slide loads, I'm sending over an xAPI statement of experience. If I double click on that, you'll notice that it will pop open the verb and it will have send xAPI statement and it will say experienced and then it will have the page. Now I'm using this as custom text. If you select this drop down box, you can pass through custom text so you can really define it in whatever way that you want. With an xAPI statement, you have who the person is, what action did they do, and then you describe the action. So the custom allows me to describe it in any way that I want. The object will pull automatically from objects on the stage. So I wanted to pull from the title of an object, I can do that. Like what did they interact with? I can go ahead and do that as well. The slides will automatically pull from the slide title. Now I could do that. In this case, I'm not. But you can see that my slide titles, you can say right here, this slide, it will pull the welcome layout, and I don't want it all caps. I could change that in the menu if I wanted to. But under the custom, this is where I just put opening page. And I could actually come in and add to that if I wanted to describe it a little bit more. But we're not going to break down the parts of the statement exactly, but that's really what I have on the beginning page. I'm going to click OK there. On the second page, I have another simple statement of experienced. On the third page, this is a tab interaction. And in the tab interaction, I want to track if they've clicked on each tab. And the nice thing about xAPI is I have a lot more detail in what I can track compared to SCORM. So I can track to see if everyone has clicked on the tabs or what tabs have they not clicked on as well, if you want to see what they're exploring and what they're not exploring as well. So in here, under date 1, you can see xAPI statements, the learner experience date 1, and then just here, the learner experience date 2. So simple tracking. I'm using the experienced verb a lot here, except for on the last page where I have a completed verb. Now this is information that I want to send over to the endpoint, which is basically the learning record store. So I want all the data to be collected inside of the learning record store. Now, whether your learning management system has a learning record store built into it, or if it's an external learning record store or something like that, either way works here. We're going to put this somewhere else, and then we're going to send the information over to an external learning record store. xAPI allows me to track content that's outside of my normal learning management system. I'm going to go ahead and hit publish here. And I'm going to come down to LMS/LRS, and I'm going to change the location of where this outputs to my desktop, just so I can have it on my desktop there. And I'm going to actually disable where it says report to an LMS, and I'm going to enable where it says report to an external LRS. I need to set up the connection to the external LRS, and so I'm going to go ahead and click on reporting and tracking here. Now I'm going to come down to the LRS section, it already has it enabled for me to send this over to an external learning record store. And this is where I put in the activity ID. Now, this activity ID is up to you. Typically, what companies will do is they will use their URL, their website, so learningdojo.ninja/xAPI and something else. It doesn't have to be an active URL. If I go to it, nothing really needs to show, but it's a unique way to identify this learning interaction. Every time it sends over experienced, every time it sends over a verb like completed, it'll have that associated with that ID. Now, inside of the Learning Record Store, depending on the Learning Record Store, you can then create reports. You can create a report of all completed, of all visited, and other things like that. So the ID is really what ties that all together. So make sure you give that some thought. All right, now I'm going to come down to here, and instead of supplied at launch, where you can also supply the endpoint and the key and the secret when the user launches the course, we're going to go ahead and switch this over to manual. Now, this is where I need to put information about my Learning Record Store. This is how I authenticate with the Learning Record Store, letting them know that I'm able to send information over. And so this is the security part of it. Now, I'm going to come over to my Learning Record Store, which I'm using SCORM Cloud. This is the test Learning Record Store that I use often. And I'm going to grab this SCORM Cloud sandbox here, and I'm going to copy that and paste that right here. But I also need the key and the secret. Now, this is really like your authentication. So it could be your email and your password. However, that is very insecure, so you don't want to do that. You actually want to create activity provider up here, and then you need to click on where it says add activity provider if you don't have one below. I do have one below, so I'm just going to grab the key, and I'm going to paste the key right there, and then I'm going to grab the secret, and I'm going to paste the secret right there. Now, just to make sure everything is working, there is a button for test settings, so I'm going to click on test settings, and if I get a check mark, that means it's able to communicate to the Learning Record Store, so I know information is going to be sent over. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK, and now I'm going to publish this out. So hit publish, and it will publish a folder with my entire project. In order for learners to get to this course, I need to upload this to some website. So if you have a domain somewhere, learningdojo.ninja, I would upload it and then point people to this website. Now, the initial file is the story that you would point them to is the story.html file. Let me actually go to that. I'll hide my browser here. Here's my published project. And this is the initial file that kind of brings it all together. The HTML file pulls in all of the images, it pulls in all the style information, it pulls in all the behavior information, but this is the initial file that the browser will read. If I double click on that, you can see that it launches the Storyline course here. I'm going to go ahead and close that out for now. And this template is going to work a little bit differently. So we need to know who the person is, and we could pass that in as a query string. So if you come over here, and let me go back into Storyline and show you how to find this here. If I come into reporting and tracking here, and I go into Learning Record Store, and I click on this little I information icon here, this is going to pull open a website on Articulate's support site that will give you information about providing the string and sending information over to a Learning Record Store. So I'm going to scroll down here to a little bit down here to this LRS launch test guide. Now, Articulate has provided this test website where I can come in and I can enter in a person's name, and I can enter in a person's email here. And then what it will do is it will give me this query string. This is if I'm just going to test this out. So I could actually copy this and paste it somewhere, or just copy anything after this question mark and paste that to when I launch that story.html, and it will pass in me. It won't pass in anybody. Every time if you use that URL for everybody, it's going to think that Jeff Batt took the course and not whoever took the course. So my template works a little bit differently. It allows the person, if you use it as the launch screen, it allows the person to enter in their own name and their own email and then launch the Storyline course. So let's go ahead and go to that. So if you go to learningdojo.ninja and then you click on templates and you scroll down to this Storyline xAPI actor capture launch. That is a mouthful. So I'm going to go ahead and click on download template. All you have to do, it's free. You just enter in your email. I'm just going to click on continue here. It's going to download the file. You can always come back to it. You can download it at any time. And let's go ahead and see what we have here. So here is that folder. You may have to unzip it depending if you're on a Mac or a PC. And then you can see some instructions here, but this is really what I want. I'm going to go ahead and just move that launch.html file into the same folder as the Storyline published project here. And I can even get rid of those instructions in that folder, and just that's all I need basically. Now this launch.html file, if I double click on it, you'll notice that it's a simple launch page that has information about the course. It has a description, and then it has a name and an email, and then launch course. So I'm going to go ahead and just show you how this works here. So I'll say jeffbat@gmail.com, and then I'm going to click on launch course. So it's just going to find the story.html file in the same folder location. Let's go back to here. So the same folder location, it'll find that, but you'll notice that it passed in the information and created that query string for me automatically. And so it doesn't matter what name that I put in there, it will actually allow you to just launch it with whatever name and email you want. And now if I go through it and I interact with the course here, so let me click on all the different tabs. Because we already connected to the endpoint, I'm going to go into my Learning Record Store, click on the LRS viewer, switch this over to the sandbox here, and you can see right here, Jeff Bat experienced the timeline interaction. Jeff Bat experienced the instructions page. This does bring up something interesting. Storyline does send over triggers automatically. And so that's something to keep in mind, is it will actually experience or send over experience the page automatically. So technically, and I wanted to point this out, technically I don't need to add an experienced on every single page. Storyline does that. Now I can add another one and then kind of filter that out if I wanted to in the reporting. But Storyline will do it, so I can just kind of keep it as is, and then just what I can do is track the additional things, like what tabs did they click on? Did they click the like button? Did they interact with something? Did they enter something into the text field and other things? And Storyline can even go beyond that, and I'm going to cover this in future videos, is you could even add quiz data and pass that information over to the Learning Record Store as well. So if I come into here, there's other types of information, other types of variables and results information that I can send over automatically, but it will at least send over that experience on each page. So I've been able to capture, let's go through this one more time, just to show you that it's not just my name here. So whatever name, so if I say Sammy McGee, and then I'm going to say jeffbat@gmail.com, and then click on launch. And then now let's start going through a couple different pages, come back in here and hit refresh. And you can see Sammy McGee experienced, Sammy McGee went to the different pages and so forth. So it will capture whatever information that they enter in here. Now you can use this a little bit differently. If you use a single sign-on, you can actually capture who the person is and use that information in the query string instead of having the person enter in their name and email automatically. Or if you wanted them to authenticate through Google, like the Google authentication, you could do that as well and modify that launch page. In fact, this launch page, if you have something like Sublime Text, or if you have something like Visual Studio Code, which are both free text editors, you could open this up and then you can scroll down here. And this code is wide open, so you can go in and you can customize it how you want. You can customize the CSS and the look and the fill. But if you come down here, you can change out the title of the course right here. You can also change out the duration of the course right here, or just get rid of it if you don't even want to display that. You can also change out the description of the course right there. Now this is where it will create that URL, that query string, and it will take whatever information they typed in as the email, whatever they typed in as the name, and pull that. And so again, if you're working with a single sign-on, instead of having a text entry box, maybe you still have this launch page, but what this launch page does is it automatically pulls who the person is from the single sign-on, and then enters that in as the email, and enters in their name as the name here. So this can be modified. Hopefully it's at least a useful template for you to be able to test out different users without having to create that query string every single time. If you have any other questions, comment down below. What other things do you want to see video-wise, or even like what do you want to see Storyline come out with? with the xAPI templates and to make it a little bit easier as well. And make sure that you like and subscribe to this channel so you can see all future videos as they come out. If you wanted to check out more templates and more training, go ahead and check out learningdojo.ninja. You can check out all my previous blog posts. You can also check out different courses. Articulate Storyline 360, full A to Z course. Adobe Captivate's xAPI Fundamentals. If you wanted to dive in and get your hands dirty with xAPI, this is a great course for you. Articulate Rise, Custom SCORM, HTML5 video, and more. Thanks everyone. I'll see you in the next video.